Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today is March the 21st and it's my second rock fishing trip this year. During the last trip, I spent some time slow pitch jigging, but most of the time bait fishing. And originally my goal for this trip was to increase the time on slow pitch versus using squid. However, after talking to one of the deckhands, I came to realize that we would actually be fishing for really deep water today, anywhere from 350 feet all the way to 600 feet. I was completely underprepared for this since most of the jigs that I brought were under 300 grams, and I wasn't sure if I were still able to stay vertical with slow pitch jigging at such depths. Plus, as you can see, it's a bit windy with choppy water. That's why I decided to start off the day with some bait fishing since I brought some heavy sinkers. I really wanted to fill the bag with at least maybe 7 or 8 fish before I started slow pitch jigging, so I would not be under any pressure even if it doesn't turn out to be as productive. After a slow start in the first 2 hours or so, we started to see more cooperative fish. And it took me about another 2 hours or so to catch 8 rockfish. It was actually quite tiring to reel in the fish with a 16-ounce sinker from 500 feet deep water. We did have at least one other angler on the boat using electric reel, which makes the deep water fishing much easier. When I finally replaced my bait rod with the slow pitch setup, I felt such a huge relief on my upper body. My slow pitch rod and reel weighs only about 21 ounces combined, compared to over 45 ounces for my bait fishing setup. And the 300-gram long jig sinks quite fast with the help of the 20-pound braided line. The slow pitch rod I'm using today is the Reef Innovate medium heavy. The 8-foot length is ideal for fishing on a party boat with other anglers. It provides great action for long fall technique, and when you're fishing deep, the long fall technique is a great way to remove the slack in your line and impart some meaningful motion to your jig. It didn't take long before I got my first bite with the slow jigging, and I found that reeling in the fish with my slow pitch setup is much easier than my bait rod and reel. Besides the lighter equipment, the ultra thin 20-pound braid also drastically reduces water resistance compared to the 80-pound braid on my bait reel. This rod is super light. Soon after my second drop, I felt a bite with very strong head shake for a few seconds before I got tangled to the bottom. I think what could have happened was that a big fish took the bait, found out that something was very wrong, then dived underneath a huge rock. This was potentially a pretty good fish, but there was nothing I could do about it, other than loosening the drag and shaking my rod to get the jig out of the tangle. As a result, I lost that fish. I then dropped the jig right back to the bottom, and again, I was applying the long fall technique, sticking close to the bottom of the ocean while creating actions for my jig. Then I got my third bite, and this time the fish wasn't strong enough to drag the jig under the rock. I was paying extra attention whenever I tried to pull the fish out of the water, because the rod tip is so light and sensitive. I don't want to accidentally break it. Now here's my second fish of the day, caught with the slow pitch jigging. I'm quite happy about the results so far. When I dropped the jig down after the second fish, somehow the braided line broke and I lost all my rig, including my only 300 gram jig. So I had to switch to the 250 gram jig, fishing for 400 feet to 500 feet deep water. And this was definitely out of my comfort zone. And as I was dropping the jig, I could feel that there was more lateral or horizontal movement of the jig when I switched from 300 gram to 250 gram. But I was still able to hold bottom and hook my third fish. This time I was using a short lance jig from Japan. Overall, I had a great time, although I don't think that fishing 350 feet to 600 feet deep water produced larger fish than fishing shallower water. I still got to practice slow pitch jigging in deep water, and it gained more confidence in the equipment that I used and also the technique that I applied. If there's one thing that I would recommend to my slow pitch jigging friends, it is that downsizing from 30-pound braid to 20-pound braid did make a difference, especially in deep water. I was able to sink the jig faster and also stay vertical better, given the same water condition and jig weight. Thanks for watching, and I will continue to share my thoughts with you as I make progress on the slow pitch jigging journey going forward.